So there's this historic trial happening down in Brazil, and pretty much everyone thought they knew how it was going to end, with a former president getting convicted. But then, in a single day, one judge's vote just flipped the whole thing on its head. Today, we're going to unpack that absolutely dramatic turn.
Yeah, we're talking about the trial of former President Jair Bolsonaro. The accusation, masterminding a coup plot. And look, it really seemed like it was heading straight for a conviction. But then, bam! One single vote changes the entire story, and you could feel the ripple effects not just in Brazil, but all over the world.
And the reaction was, well, immediate. The Spanish newspaper El País put it perfectly. They said, the dissenting vote from Supreme Federal Court Justice Luis Fux surprised everyone. I mean, this wasn't just some dry legal move, no way. It instantly blew up into the headline story and completely changed the math for the entire case.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll get right into that dramatic vote. Then, we'll dig into the judge's razor-sharp reasoning. After that, we'll zoom out to get the bigger picture of the trial, check out how the world reacted, and finally, figure out what this stunning twist means for what happens next.
Okay, so picture this. The trial kicks off pretty much exactly how everyone thought it would. The first two justices up to vote, Alexandre de Moraes and Flavio Dino, they both vote to convict Bolsonaro and his allies, right? The path forward seemed totally clear. So far, so predictable.
But then, September 10th rolls around and everything just changes. I mean, get this. After a marathon session, we're talking nearly 14 hours long, Justice Luis Fux finally delivers his opinion. And what does he do? He votes to acquit Bolsonaro on all charges. Just like that, the score is 2-1, and the entire trial is thrown into a whole new, totally uncertain reality.
And look, Justice Fux didn't just kinda disagree with his colleagues. No, he systematically took the prosecution's case and just dismantled it, piece by piece. He started raising these really profound questions, not just about the substance of the accusations, but about the entire legal process itself.
Okay, and this is where you really see the core of the legal fight. On one side, you have the prosecution saying, hey, we have proof of a coup in motion, real executive acts. But Fux comes back and says, hold on, what you really have are just preparatory acts. You know, things like discussions, draft documents, or this idea of cogitação, which literally means the mere thought of something. And his whole point was that under Brazilian law, that's not a punishable crime. It's kind of simple when you think about it. Can you really be convicted for just thinking about a crime?
But he didn't stop there. Oh no, Fux went even further, basically arguing the entire trial was flawed from the get-go. First, he says the Supreme Court doesn't even have the right jurisdiction for this, but then he gets to this critical point. This massive, disorganized tsunami of evidence. We are talking 70 to 80 terabytes of data just dumped on the defense team. How are you supposed to build a defense against that? Fuchs's argument was that this made a fair trial constitutionally impossible, and because of that, the whole thing should just be thrown out.
So, to really get the gravity of this moment, we have to remember what's actually at stake here. I mean, let's be clear. The charges at the center of this trial, they are some of the most serious a political leader could ever face.
I mean, just take a look at this list. Armed criminal organization, attempting to violently abolish the democratic state. A full-on coup d'etat. This is heavy stuff. And if they're convicted on all of it, the defendants are looking at over 40 years in prison. So yeah, this isn't just about someone's political reputation. This is a legal fight with massive, life-altering consequences.
So, the way the prosecution tells it, this wasn't something that happened overnight. They're connecting the dots over several years. It starts with public attacks on democratic institutions back in 2021, then it escalates to drafting an actual decree to annul the election in 2022, and it all culminates in those violent riots where government buildings were overrun in January 2023. They're painting a very clear picture of escalation. Now, you have to remember, this whole trial has been under a global microscope. Seriously, the whole world is watching because it has huge implications for democracy everywhere. So you can bet that when Justice Fux cast that dissenting vote, the international press jumped on it immediately.
For example, Reuters keyed in right away on the legal side of things. They pointed out that Fuchs's dissent basically hands Bolsonaro's defense team a much stronger foundation for an appeal if he's convicted. It opens a door for them to push for a whole new review by the entire 11-judge court. Then you had France 24, and they highlighted how that foundation was built. They noticed that Fuchs's reasoning lined up almost perfectly with the defense's main arguments. Remember that cogitation thing, that you can't punish mere thought? Well, that was a direct echo of what Bolsonaro's lawyers had been saying from day one.
And the Washington Post kind of summed up the bigger impact, both politically and legally. They pointed out that this vote gave the former president and his supporters some crucial breathing room, a real sense of relief. It was like a lifeline that significantly boosted their chances if this goes to an appeal.
All right, so this brings us to the million-dollar question. What happens now? Let's be real, the trial isn't over. A conviction is definitely still on the table. But thanks to Fuchs's dissent, the road to a final, unshakable verdict just got a whole lot more complicated.
Okay, to understand what's next, you gotta know this key legal term, transito em julgado. Think of it as the point of no return in the Brazilian legal system. It's the final word when a ruling is set in stone and every single appeal has been used up. That's typically the only point when a prison sentence would actually begin.
So this is where it gets really interesting. Right now, the score is 2-1 for conviction. But here's the kicker. If just one more judge dissents, the verdict becomes 3-2, and that 3-2 split, that's the magic number. It's like unlocking a new level in a game. It allows the defense to file this super powerful appeal that could force a brand new trial, but this time in front of the entire 11-judge court. And because of Fuchs's one vote, that possibility is suddenly very, very real.
So what started out as a legal proceeding has now been completely supercharged with political drama. Justice Fuchs's dissent wasn't just a plot twist. It fundamentally reshaped the entire landscape of this trial. And it leaves all of Brazil, and really the rest of us watching from around the world, with a huge question. Can law and politics ever truly be separated when a nation's future is hanging in the balance?